Yeah. Get high rapper. The Man Hour. You already know. It's live. It's raw. It's going down. Like this. I'm going around and letting everybody know that they welcome to the show. It's the littest thing you ever seen, you already know. Let me introduce you to your host of the hour. Hit me, Mike and Mike. Yeah, it's the Man Hour. Got the hottest plays, all the breaking news. Every rumor, every trade, every breaking bruise. Tighten knuckle screws. Yeah, it's going down. Have you saying what the fuck and never watered down. It's going down. I'll be rolling up. And if you buy it or you sell it, then you made the cut. Watch me flip it back. I can double up. I got sriracha for that ass, I'ma burn it up. Gotta check the rules and know that it be fair and foul. Rep blow the whistle, coach throw the towel. We can do this on the field or outside the lines. It's the Man Hour though, now we going live.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckhouse here with the Man Hour. Head over to manhourradio.com and check out the merchandise page. We got the hoodies, we got the beanies, not the Cowboys beanies, but we got the Man Hour beanies with the mixed puffer thing on there. We got the BC merch, we got the joggers, we got the koozies, we got the bucket hats, we got anything you could possibly want over there at manhourradio.com. Click on the merch link, use promo code BEASTIE to save your guys self some 10%. So save yourself some dollar bills, y'all, while helping the show as well. And those are perfect holiday gifts as well, because we also got the Man Hour tumblers as well. Has the Man Hour logo on there. We got the BC logo on there. And we have Team Buck merch dropping here December 1st. So really excited about that. We got a great action show for you tonight. We do have the regular lineup on Wednesday. We got Mr. Graham Wallace himself at Bus Wallace on the old Twitter machine. So be sure to follow that man on the Twitter machine as he gives us his weekly NFL power ranking. He does all 32 NFL teams, and we do release those on our Instagram and Twitter pages every Wednesday. I was slacking today. I'm sorry, but I'll get those out tomorrow, and we'll let you guys know the bottom half of the NFL power rankings. Also, we do have Spilled Soup on tap tonight, but there are massive tornadoes happening in the Midwest right now, and Soup Boss himself are in a lot of those tornadoes. So keep your prayers and thoughts with Soup Boss, and hopefully he gets on for Spilled Soup. But if not, we know why, because he is live in the action right there right now. He says he's watching lightning strike as we speak. So we've been talking off and on, like all day. But before you get too carried away, guys, if you are new here, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Man Hour, and hit that bell icon. We do upload clips each and every day over there, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and 24 hours a day. So every 3 hours, we are uploading new content to the YouTube channel. Also, guys, if you be most inclined, you can also find us on Good Pods as well. So that's the application, iOS or Android devices, Good Pods. That's GOODPODS, and you can rank each episode there. We just launched there. It should be tomorrow, or so when you're listening to this on the radio or podcast form, it'll be launched like right then and there. But 11/11 is when it is supposed to officially be launched on there, and you can rate each episode, and it will give us like a ranking versus everybody else in the whole entire world. And obviously, Man Hour is the best damn sports show out there, and we want to prove it to you guys. Like we want you guys to rank it, we want to see things. Also, we are in the Podcast Award finalists for Comedy Podcast Best Winner Sports Podcast and Biggest Hitter Sports Podcast. So we are those three finalists in the iHeart Podcast Awards, which they're picked January, sometime in January. I don't have the exact date on me, but it is in January. But without further ado, guys, let's break into tonight's show. And the lead story of the night is we got to go with Odell Beckham Jr. Obviously, Odell Beckham Jr. last week, I believe it was last Saturday or Friday, he was officially released by the Cleveland Browns, no longer on the Cleveland Browns. He's been asking for a trade for 365 days, right? He's been asking trade all last season, and kind of been hinting at it all this season as well. He has officially passed the waiver wires and all that good stuff. So he is officially a free agent, and he can pretty much sign with any team that wants him, because they just have to sign him to a league minimum of like $1 million, $1.5 million, I think it is, and the Browns will eat the rest of the cash. So Odell Beckham Jr. has come out and said he wants to play with a contending team. He wants to play with a playoff team. He wants to play with a team that wants to be a part of the Super Bowl. Well, no shit. Everybody wants to play on a Super Bowl contending team, right? But he has narrowed it down to 3 teams, but there are still 4 in the mix, and those teams are being the New Orleans Saints, the Green Bay Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the New England Patriots. Now, out of those 4 teams, I'm going to tell you which team he will fit on the best and what teams he will not fit the best on. So first things up is Odell Beckham Jr. to the New England Patriots. This is not a good fit for Odell Beckham Jr. or the New England Patriots at all. It's just flat, point blank, cut and dry, as easy as it can be. For one, Odell Beckham Jr. will be the man there, right? So he will be expected to get the ball and perform. Every time Odell Beckham Jr. is expected to perform, what does he do? He shits the bed. Let's just be flat out honest. Odell Beckham Jr. really hasn't been much since the catch. I believe Combs dropped a stat that he has 35 total touchdowns since the catch. So that's averaging like six a season or something to that effect. Not very effective. Number 2, he has a young quarterback. And we all know that Odell Beckham Jr. has a larger-than-life personality, right? And what better way to corrupt a rookie quarterback? Put Odell Beckham Jr. on that team. So strike number 2 there. Strike number 3 for the New England Patriots is that when you go to New England Patriots, you are expected to follow the Patriot way. You are expected to do things right. When you have a 7-yard dig, you are supposed to plant at 7 yards and dig back, right? Odell Beckham Jr. likes to freestyle a lot, and extend routes, find the soft spot in the zones, etc. And that's what he excels on. And so right there are 3 strikes and why he will not fit in New England. Now, why would he fit in New England? Is because he does have a quarterback that can throw him the ball. He will be the number 1 guy, and he does have a great coach that puts people in great positions to win a lot of games. So there are 3 pros and 3 cons there, but obviously the cons are going to weigh out the pros way there. Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots should stay very, very far away from Odell Beckham Jr. They shouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, or they might get that STD and that cancer that Odell Beckham brings with him everywhere where he goes. And it's showing. It's showing its face in New York, and it's showing his face in Cleveland, and it'll definitely show his face in New England, where he would definitely become a cancer on that team 100%. And I don't care about the Bill Belichick effect or whatever. No, that's over when Tom Brady left. Odell Beckham Jr. and Patriots, nixed that right off the top of the head. So, Drew, what's up to Drew and the chat? Me and Drew have been chatting here pre-show here. So, big shout out to Drew. Always thank you for being a supporter here, Drew, on Man Hour, especially at youtube.com/Man Hour. And if you guys see that little symbol next to Drew's name, he is a member. So he simply clicked on the join button here at youtube.com. And I believe he is a $5.99 member. So he gets a free t-shirt, which that will be coming in the mail very, very soon here, Drew. So after 6 months of being a part of Man Hour Nation, he gets a free t-shirt. Now, there are other packages. There's a 99-cent package that gets you behind the scenes footage during a live show, what me and the boys talk about during breaks, after hours, and merchandise discounts. $2.99. You get more perks. $5.99. You obviously get entered into the Las Vegas trip along with the free t-shirt after 6 months of service. But the $9.99 deal, guys, you get a hoodie, this Man Hour or Beastie or any type of hoodie that you want. Every year you are part of Man Hour Nation. So every August we will roll out a new hoodie for you. Send it out, perfect for the cold or the month. So Drew, thank you for being a part of Man Hour Nation for us over here at youtube.com/Man Hour. Also, he says that I believe that Odell Beckham Jr. will go to the Raiders. Oh. I don't think so. The Raiders have fired 3 people on their days off in just the last month and some change. Odell Beckham Jr. would be number 4 fired on his day off, just because I don't know. I feel like Odell Beckham Jr. is a very, very larger than life prima donna, and he is in his head. And if he would go to a place like Vegas, where the limelight isn't as bright as, you know, other places, like, I don't think he will survive. But we'll talk about that later in the show. Team number 2 that Odell Beckham Jr. has expressed going to are the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers, on paper, everything makes sense, right? You have that veteran presence at quarterback, which Odell Beckham needs. He needs somebody to right his ship, like, hey, this is our way. This is the way it is going to go. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, he would not be the number 1 receiver. And Odell Beckham Jr., he would not be the number 1 receiver, I should say. And I think Odell Beckham Jr. is no longer, actually, he never was a number 1 receiver, and he would thrive in that number 2 or even number 3 role for the Green Bay Packers. And number 3, the Green Bay Packers are a great organization. They are a great team, and they have Super Bowl aspirations. Everything that Odell Beckham Jr. wants in a team, and those are 3 huge cons for Odell Beckham Jr. and the Green Bay Packers. Now, the cons to going to Green Bay is that I think Odell Beckham Jr. in his mind thinks he is a number 1 receiver. He would not be a number 1 receiver on Green Bay. He simply wouldn't. Devontae Adams is arguably the best receiver in the league, and Odell Beckham Jr. isn't even top 25. He has lost a step. His hands are starting to get worse. He has a 10% drop rate this season, highest in his whole career, and it is number 20th or 25th in the league as well. So I mean, he is on the bottom half of the receivings or the receiving numbers as well. Number 3 is that he does have a young head coach. So I think he would try to manipulate that young head coach into doing what he wants. And on paper, everything makes sense. All the checkbox are checked for teams looking at Odell Beckham Jr., but I don't think it checks for Odell Beckham because he would not be the number 1 receiver. So I do not think that he will end up in Green Bay. Now, the 3rd team that he has expressed interest to are the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs do check mark some of the boxes. They have a great offense. They are a very, offensive heavy team, right? They put so much emphasis on the offensive side of the ball. And with that being said, they do have that veteran kind of ish quarterback presence there, meaning he is a Super Bowl champion. He has 3 AFC championship game appearances, and he is going to be there for a very, very long time. So they could, in theory, build that relationship. And the Kansas City Chiefs are needing a big body receiver. Oh, wait. They signed somebody. They signed Josh Gordon. The Kansas City Chiefs don't need Odell Beckham Jr. It'll be simply adding depth to already a deep wide receiver core, and Odell Beckham Jr. would be a number 4, if not a number 5 option on that team. And he definitely doesn't want that, whether you're a Super Bowl contending team or not. No way in my mind that I don't think he goes to Kansas City because of the Tyreek Hills, of the Travis Kelce's, the Josh Gordon, the McCall Hardmans. I mean, right there are 4 names that would be above Odell Beckham Jr. on that roster. And we don't even know if the offensive coordinator or even if Andy Reid, for that matter, will be there for next season. I've been hearing rumblings from my Kansas City friends that they want Andy Reid out at Kansas City, and they want Eric Bieniemy out as well because everybody's catching up to them and it's time for a change. Wow. Just wrap your head around that. I mean, a Super Bowl champion, then you lost to the Super Bowl, and now you're a winning team still, but you want your head coach out, offensive coordinator out, whatever. This is the same offensive coordinator that is arguably one of the most sought out offensive coordinators for a head coaching position. So before I get into this last team, let me go ahead and see what Drew said over here. He says, I don't agree. I think he would thrive in Green Bay. I would think he would thrive for the rest of the season, Drew, but long term, I don't think he would thrive because Aaron Rodgers is out of Green Bay after next year. We will talk about that in segment number 3 here tonight about the more COVID thing and whatnot that's happening with Aaron Rodgers. But spoiler, I think Aaron Rodgers is officially out of Green Bay after this whole COVID situation. And obviously, Jordan Love will come in there. We saw how great Jordan Love was against a terrible Kansas City Chiefs team, and he's just not very good. And then he also says not happening as not going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. and the Chiefs make too much sense. Now, this is the team that has the most promise, I think, in my eyes, to where Odell Beckham Jr. would be a good fit in hindsight here. And that is the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints need that number 1 receiver since Michael Thomas is out for the rest of the season. And the Saints need a number 1 receiver like Odell Beckham Jr. to stretch the field so Alvin Kamara can, start do Alvin Kamara things. However, if this would have happened 3 weeks ago, I would have said this is a done deal. Odell Beckham Jr. to the Saints, no question in my mind. But since then, Jameis Winston has gone down with that torn ACL and MCL sprain. Now you have Trevor Siemian throwing him the ball, or Taysom Hill, or a rookie quarterback in Ian Book. I think Taysom Hill is back off of the concussion protocol. So, but either way, there is no quarterback that can consistently throw Odell Beckham Jr. the ball, and he is going to get pissed. I mean, he would be better off in Cleveland, at that point. There is a reason why Trevor Siemian was a third-string quarterback on the New Orleans Saints behind Taysom Hill. There was a reason why he's been floating around the league from team to team to team, right? It's just that is just the way it is. And unfortunately, he had a great game versus Tampa Bay. Yes, he did lead them to, or he maintained the lead to win the game for them. However, the old saying goes is when you don't have film on a on a player, you can't prepare for him, yada yada yada. So on paper, everything makes sense for Odell Beckham Jr. and the Saints to become married, to become one. However, after this season, let's say Michael Thomas is back healthy. Michael Thomas is back on the team. Michael Thomas is that number 1 receiver on that team, hands down. Top 5 receiver in the league, hands down. Alvin Kamara then becomes, a bigger threat again. Odell Beckham Jr. would have to take that step back into that number 2 role, which he did in Cleveland, and he didn't like. On the flip side of that as well, we don't even know if Jameis Winston will be back in New Orleans next season. We've heard rumblings of Russell Wilson coming to New Orleans. We've heard of rumblings of Aaron Rodgers coming to New Orleans. Hell, we've even heard them of going after Deshaun Watson as well, which I think is a complete bogus statement there. But we digressed on that. But we don't even know who the quarterback will be for the Saints moving forward after this season, especially after Jameson Winston's ACL injury. We don't even know if he will be healthy to play next season. So Odell Beckham Jr. to the Saints makes sense on paper, but for Odell Beckham Jr.'s future, it does not make sense because, let's be honest, right now, the Saints are probably not a playoff contender, certainly not a Super Bowl contender, and moving forward, we don't even know if they're going to be even a contender in their own division, after they lose Winston in the off season. So that leaves roughly what 28 or 27 other teams in the NFL that could possibly pick up Odell Beckham Jr. Drew, you said the Titans and the Raiders. I've also heard the Baltimore Ravens. Who else did I hear? The Patriots, the Patriots, Saints, Packers, and the Chiefs, obviously. And there's one other team that I'm missing that is kind of high on the Odell Beckham Jr., want list. Oh, it was the Rams, right? Okay. The Rams cut Deshaun Jackson. Why would they sign another prima donna wide receiver when they just cut one? That doesn't make sense. The Buccaneers don't make sense either. Bruce Arians flat out said that he has too many initials and his name, and he doesn't need him, or he doesn't want him, Drew. So the Buccaneers are out for sure. So basically, I think it comes down to 2 or 3 teams in the end. It comes down to the Titans, the Ravens, and then probably like a dark horse team. We're talking like maybe a team that's kind of like on the cusp of making the playoffs or kind of not. I'm going to throw out a team there, totally hoping spaghetti sticks to the wall, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. With that being said, there is a reason why Juju Smith-Schuster, there's a reason why Juju Smith-Schuster, Sammy Watkins, and who else went there? And there was some other receiver that went to Baltimore, was ready to sign, but ultimately they backed out. There is a reason, because Jim Harbaugh told them that they are going to do nothing but block for Lamar Jackson. You will be expected to catch about 2 balls a game, and that's about it. The rest of it runs through Lamar Jackson, and it is showing. Lamar Jackson has 86% of the team's total offense, which a quarterback should have a lot of the percentage of, but I digress on that. But he has 86% or so total yardage of the Ravens' total offense this season, and he is expected to block and be a team player. Guys, what is Odell Beckham Jr.? He's not a team player. He is a good blocker when he knows he's going to get the ball, and they don't have a good quarterback to throw him the ball consistently. Like I said, he would still be better off in Cleveland having Baker Mayfield throw him the ball. I'm not trying to dog Baker Mayfield by any means. I think he is a good average quarterback, not great, not elite, but either is Lamar Jackson. So I think the Baltimore Ravens are out. Now it becomes between the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. The Colts have a plethora of offensive weapons as well. They have Pittman Jr., they have T.Y. Hilton, they have the tight end, his name's slipping my mind right now. They have the backfield, they have a great offensive line. They need a solid number 2, number 3 receiver. However, we come back to the issue of that he is going to be a number 2 receiver on that team. Is he willing to be the number 2 guy to win a playoff game, to win a championship? And I think Odell Beckham Jr. isn't in that mind to become a role player on a team. Then it comes down to the Titans. It basically comes down to, is he better than A.J. Brown? Answer that question is no. A.J. Brown is probably a top 10 receiver in the league. Odell Beckham Jr. is not. So basically what it comes down to in the end is Odell Beckham Jr. has to check his ego at the door. And I'm going to propose a question here in the chat, in the comments. So in the comments below, guys, tell me, can Odell Beckham Jr. check his ego at the door to win a championship? And which of those 3 teams that I listed does he ultimately sign for? The Ravens, Colts, or Titans? I'm going to go with it is going to ultimately be the Titans. I think he is going to sign with the Titans. He is going to see the potential there, with the Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, and then AP. So he sees the potential, and with King Henry being out, they're going to obviously be throwing the ball a hell of a lot more. So there's potential to catch more balls. So Titans would probably be the best bet, and they're probably the front runners in the South still, or are they? We will get into that right after the NFL power rankings, guys, with Graham Wallace, Mr. Bus Wallace himself, on the old Twitter machine. So be sure to follow Graham on Twitter at Bus Wallace, at Twitter, obviously. Link is in the description. But guys, we are up against a break here. We're going to take a quick break. After the break, NFL power rankings brought to you by Skull Candy headphones, guys. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckasher here with the Man Hour. Head over to manhourradio.com and be sure to pick up your Beastie merch. Beastie merch is live over there at manhourradio.com. Use promo code Beastie at checkout to save yourselves, guys, 10%. So we talked a little bit about Odell Beckham Jr. and where he will land. And he said that he wants to compete, or he wants to play with a contender and with a Super Bowl contender here. And this is the perfect time to segue into the NFL Power Rankings with Mr. Graham Wallace himself at Bus Wallace on the Twitter machine. Graham, what's going on tonight, bud?
Again, we're at about the halfway point of the season, so shit's getting real.
Yeah, shit is getting real. And you know what is not getting real is the Kansas City Chiefs are not getting real. You actually have them dropping in your power rankings. You have them sitting at number 17. But there are other power rankings out there. There's Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, CBS, right? They all have them like number 11 and number 10. Why do you have the Chiefs so low and they have the Chiefs so high? What gives, man?
Well, I think they're giving Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Eric Bieniemy, the whole team, a bit more of a benefit of the doubt than I am. I just really haven't seen like what I've seen. They haven't passed the eye test for me lately. You think about that Monday night game against the Giants, which they were lucky to come away with the win. Killed. Demarcus Robinson really doesn't inspire a lot of fear from opposing defenses. And Travis Kelce's great coming up over the middle, but he's not really getting the same defensive coverage, the same people guarding him as a guy like Sammy Watkins would. So that's part of the reason why, but I also think Patrick Mahomes is trying to do a little bit too much. He's thrown into tight windows. He has so much confidence in that great arm of his, as he should, but sometimes he forces footballs into windows that he shouldn't try to force them into, and gets him into some trouble.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you are on the Buck bandwagon and hashtag bench Mahomes, right?
Oh, I don't know if I'd play Chad Henne instead of Pat Mahomes. I don't know if I'm quite there. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. Chad Henne's had a nice career, but I think we've seen, going back to his time with the Miami Dolphins, he's a clip holder. He's a guy there for a good time, not for a long time, and he's closer to 40 than he is 30, I believe. So I'm not quite there with you there, but Mahomes needs to figure it out, as does the rest of this offense. And they don't have that much time left. A lot of these same websites, like I read this article on ESPN, they're projecting them for a 9-8 finish to the season. So I don't understand how you could have them near the top 10, but also think they're only going to win 9 games. So
yeah, that's kind of weird,
something's got to give, and they're either going to figure it out or they're not, and they're running out of time.
Yeah, and I believe Chad Henne is over 40 because didn't him and Tom Brady graduate the same year at Michigan because they split time their senior years, I thought?
I think Chad Henne was there a little bit later. Drew Henson, I think, is the guy you're thinking of.
Yeah, okay.
He played with the Cowboys for a little bit there,
That's
baseball player for a little while.
Right.
And Lloyd Carr just loved this guy, even though Tom Brady was putting up numbers and wins. He just always wanted to put in Henson, and it was really it pissed a lot of fans off of Big Blue. So
yeah. Well,
anyways,
speaking of pissing fans off, you pissed me off right off the bat, and coming in at number 10. You do have the Oakland Raiders again. The Raiders, I think they were idle last week. They obviously lost Ruggs, and then they cut other players on their day offs too. So Friday, all over there, a.k.a. if you haven't seen the movie, you should. I'll link it in the description below. But Raiders at number 10. Tell me why.
Yeah, I think that's definitely questionable. I kind of have them lumped in with a couple other 5-3 teams simply because I just like what I know they're coming off a really bad loss against the New York Giants at the Meadowlands. Carr didn't play well at all, but I have a bit more confidence in him right now, believe it or not, than Ben Roethlisberger or Trevor Siemian, which are the two quarterbacks of the teams just ahead of the Raiders, and they have the same record as that team. Obviously, the situation with Ruggs is almost yesterday's news because now Damon Arnett came in with the guns and the threats and all this. Just an idiotic move. Obviously, he was cut. The decision-making of Mike Mayock, the general manager, really has to be questioned. This guy was a draft guru, expert. You saw him on NFL Network, all these different things. And he would always be the number one draft expert. And if you think about some of the moves he's made since being in charge of the Silver and Black, some of them are very questionable, especially with the character concerns, right?
Right. And I believe I read something that all the players from the 2020 draft all have been cut or are not starting on the Las Vegas Raiders this season. So take that as you will. But coming in at number 9, fresh off a fantastic loss, 9-6 barn burner there, are your Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Sunday was just a weird day. We already talked about the Raiders losing to the Giants. Probably the most shocking game of all was the Bills not only losing to the Jaguars, but not even putting up a touchdown. Their line was just thoroughly dominated throughout. Josh Allen, obviously this was a overdone storyline, but Josh Allen got the better of the more famous Josh Allen, if you will, with the interception, fumble recovery, sack as well. So great game by him. I think it was just one of those stinker games for the Bills, but even if you go back to a couple weeks ago against the Dolphins, it took them really into that third quarter before they figured things out on offense. And they've got to look at themselves in the mirror. They've got the New England Patriots in their rearview mirror, just a half game behind. So they've really got to start playing better football. They've got the Jets coming up on Sunday. That should be a good get right game, but who knows? This Mike White guy's looked pretty good in limited action, so they're gonna have to play well.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I'm actually intrigued to watch this game to see if the Buffalo Bills are a team that consistently play down to their competition, or if they're actually going to rise and flex on teams that they should flex on. I think this is a big momentum game for the Bills moving forward. So at number 9, I'm still happy with that there, but what I'm even more happy about, honestly, is the LA Chargers coming in at number 8. They were my favorites to win the AFC West this season, even though I am a Kansas City Chiefs fan and wearing a Cowboys hat, which is weird, right? But but I am a KC guy in the end, and I did have the Chargers winning the West, and them at 8, I think that's spot on.
Yeah, it was another good kind of bounce back game. I think Philadelphia Eagles showed some good fight in this matchup, but Chargers were able to make enough plays. I really like the moxie of this kid, Herbert. I also like the running back, Eckler. They have some pretty good receivers as well. And I like the defense. They've made some plays. I know they've given up. They've had a couple games when they gave up a lot of points, but I think they play with the same personality as their head coach, Brandon Staley. He likes to go for it on fourth down. He has a lot of confidence in his team, and I think that's really inspiring them to play some really good football for the most part this season. 5-3, pretty good first half ish. I know it's a 17-game season. It's hard to split that up, but I definitely think the AFC West crown is there for them. They just got to keep it up.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought up their coach, because there are 3 coaches that I would love to play for in the NFL. One being Mike Tomlin, 2 being Dan Campbell, even though he is still like a rookie head coach, doesn't quite know what he's doing like over there yet, but his passion fires me up. And Staley over there in LA Charger land. He wants me to run through the wall for him, and I would do it in a heartbeat. Then my Super Bowl favorites here this season and all year, I'm still picking them to go to the Super Bowl, are the Dallas Cowboys. They suffered a huge loss versus the Broncos, a 30-0 shellacking. Let's not even add those 16 points on it, because that's all mop-up duty in the end. 30-0, they got their ass kicked. Let's just be honest, but they're still in the top 10. Why?
Yep. Well, I mean, this was a brutal performance. I mean, along with the Jacksonville loss for Buffalo, probably one of the more shocking games of the weekend. However, we got to remember Dak Prescott was coming off an injury. He had no practice time at all. He's going to be shaky. I don't care who you are. If you don't practice all week with your boys, you're not going to be sharp. And he definitely wasn't sharp. The defense wasn't as good as we've seen it in several weeks. I mean, they got carved up by Teddy Bridgewater, who has had some decent performances, but he's hardly a guy who really puts up big numbers, but that's exactly what he did in the first half. So I think this was a blip on the radar rather than a real troubling sign for Cowboys fans. I still think they're one of the top teams in the AFC. It should be a shoo-in for them to win this division and host a playoff game, and maybe more as far as playoff wins are concerned. But I'm not too worried. I think 7 is pretty much right around where they belong.
Yeah, and just in hindsight here, so I did some external research here from Pro Football Reference. If you take the Dallas Cowboys defense performance from the 20 to 20, so take out the red zone plays, they are 25th ranked defense in the league. So their defense definitely has some holes to fill. They are playing a very bend, don't break type of style. And it was succeeding, but it has not succeeded last week, obviously, versus the Broncos. Also, in hindsight, you do have the Broncos at number 15, so it wasn't like they lost to a bottom tier team either. The Broncos are okay-ish, right?
They're decent. Yeah.
And then coming in at number 6, you do have the LA Rams. They offer a fresh loss too.
Yeah, they are. The hijinks of Sunday afternoon carried into the evening, and they just got their butts whipped against the Tennessee Titans. Stafford didn't look good. He threw that weird interception when he was getting kind of pirouetted, spinning into the end zone. He just kind of threw it without looking right into the arms of the linebacker. And then he threw one about 24 seconds later. Byard picked it off and waltzed in the end zone for a touchdown. That was kind of the ball game at that point.
Yeah.
Titans really tightened up the screws, no pun intended there, on defense, and Rams couldn't really do anything. Very similar to the Cowboys game, though. I'm not overly concerned by this one performance. I still think they've got a lot of things ahead of them. Obviously, they're a game behind the Cardinals with a loss to them head-to-head as well. They may have to settle for a wild card as far as the playoffs are concerned, but I still like the defense. I still mostly like the decision-making of Matthew Stafford. Obviously, he had a couple of real bad throws on Sunday night, but I think it was a bit of a blip on the radar and not an indication of what this team is really going to play like for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, and just to add some food to thought for that interception, the Titans had back-to-back interceptions on the 2-yard line for pick sixes back-to-back weeks. One versus the Colts and Wentz, and then Stafford and the Rams the following week. So crazy turn of events there. But just to review the top 10 here, at number 10, we do have the LA Raiders still. We'll see if they fall off in the second half of the season like they normally do. Number 9, we had the Buffalo Bills. Number 8, you had the LA Chargers. 7, you had the Dallas Cowboys. Number 6, you do have the LA Rams. And then breaking into the top 5 again, jumping up from 7 to 5 this week, you do have the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I think there's something about this team. I think the narrative coming into the season, well, Lamar Jackson, once he gets down, he can't get back up. He can't lead a team back once he's down in a game. Once they're down 10, he had an 0-6 record going into the season. If you think about some of the games they've come back from this season, week 2, Monday Night Football against Kansas City, they were down 35-24 in the second half of that game. They found a way to come back. Obviously, the defense played a role in that, forcing a couple of fumbles from Patrick Mahomes, but Lamar Jackson certainly did his job. And then again, I think that was Sunday night. And then the Monday night game against Indianapolis, they were down, I think it was 25-9 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Somehow found a way to win that game. Wentz had a couple of bad throws in that one as well. And then again, this Sunday, they're down 14 on a couple of different occasions to the Minnesota Vikings, who have looked decent at times this season. They fight back into this game, and I think Lamar Jackson's really changing the narrative. He's throwing the ball down the field. Obviously, he's handing it off and keeping it himself for a lot of rush yards as well, but he's proving that he can be a captain comeback, if you will. He could lead his team back when they're down. He could throw the ball down the field. He could pretty much do it all. I know you're not a big fan of this guy, but he's been in the MVP of the league. For me, the only question he really needs to answer is the playoff victories. He's 1-3 in the playoffs. If he could improve that, he's really got nothing else to answer for.
Yeah, I mean, really, the only thing he is lacking this season so far is putting a complete game together. Just because if you look at those comeback wins, the first half he is completely dog shit, and then the second half he is the best of the best. So if he can bring one down and one up and make it, like a eye for eye type of thing, he is probably a runaway MVP again this season, even though Tom Brady and the Bucks, they're looking pretty good. Tom Brady is 25-5 on the season. The MVP odds to win, or the odds to win the MVP, and that is exactly who you have coming in at number 4 are the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah, they were idle this week. Kind of nice for them to have their bye after 8 games, kind of square in the middle of their season. They've been rock solid all year. I think there's not a lot not to like about this team. A lot of, people might say, well, why don't you have them number 1? I think they're good where they are at number 4. It's tough to talk about a team when they didn't play the week before, but I mean, sometimes the run game isn't as good as it could be, but I really like them bringing in Giovanni Bernard. They've got a hard hitting defense. I like Bruce Arians as a coach. Byron Leftwich is really kind of developing as an offensive play caller as well. The diversity of the offense, Brady really spreads it around. So I expect this team to be playing deep into January and possibly get back to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, and the one thing positive about the Bucks is when they're on top, they seem to like not perform as well as they're like chasing the top spot. So if you are a Bucks fan, you should be ecstatic that he has him at number 4, so they have something to reach for and to strive for, right, in the end. But something to strive for is getting Aaron Rodgers back on the field after the whole COVID crap happening, right? And that's who you have coming in at number 3, fresh off a loss versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, their reign at the top of my power rankings was short-lived, Buck. They're only up there for 1 week. Some people might say you should have dropped them a little bit lower. They only fell a couple of spots. I didn't want to overreact to this. Is Jordan Love the next great quarterback in the NFL? No. Is he even a backup in the NFL? I don't know. He didn't look good at all. He threw less than half of his targets to Davante Adams actually were completed. Right. And Aaron Rodgers, you have to go back several years to find a game when he less than half of his targets to Davante Adams, his main man, weren't complete. So that wasn't great to see. The defense kept them in the ball game, but Love just didn't make enough plays. I don't want to put it all on him. On the other sideline, obviously Mahomes didn't play very well either. Obviously, they're hoping they can get Rodgers back for the showdown against the Seahawks. He's going to need another positive COVID test on Saturday. He was fined peanuts for an NFL player for all those shenanigans and the ambiguity of whether or not he had a test. He said, yeah, I was immunized. I don't necessarily want to go too much into that, but I thought that was a very laughable fine by the NFL for a star player. But they're going to protect their stars. That's the way it is. But I think it was really ridiculous.
Yeah, we have definitely beat that dead horse here the last few nights on the Man Hour, and I'm going to beat it some more here in hour number 2. But dropping them two spots, I agree with that because, they did lose, so you had to drop them some, right? But they were also out their star quarterback, arguably the best quarterback in the league. On the flip side, Jordan Love did outperform Patrick Mahomes as well. So take it as you will as far as stat-wise goes. Eye test, no. And his mom probably couldn't see half of the game live.
Oh, my gosh. They had him in the nosebleeds. That was ridiculous.
So speaking of the nosebleeds, the Tennessee Titans, they're starting to get the nosebleed because they have climbed way up in your power rankings to number 2. Even without King Henry, they did sign AP. Maybe he can take some of that load. Number 2, though, man, come on.
Yeah, I think some people might say, you have them too high, but to me, this looks like the best team in the AFC. If you think about what they've done over the last 4 weeks, they beat the Buffalo Bills in that showdown with the 4th down gamble. They shut down the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of drawing a bit of a blank, but they definitely roughed up the Rams on Sunday night. Yeah. I think Jeffrey Simmons looks like a star on the defensive line.
Yeah, he does.
And they're not getting the same amount of rush yards or even attempts possibly without King Henry, but they are mixing it up. You're seeing Adrian Peterson getting some carries, but they're also using Mick Nichols and some other guys as well. They're going to need Ryan Tannehill to play like an MVP type of candidate. His quarterback rating is a little below average right now. It's right around 90. But he's just got to make smart decisions with the balls, try to spread it around, and remember that he's got a really strong defense on the other side and possibly the best punter in the NFL. I know are we really going to talk about a punter, but Brett Kern could be a real weapon back there when they need him. And I just think, again, Mike Vrabel has really taken this team and really, they got him to play. He got them to play kind of like the player he was when he was with New England, punching out footballs for fumbles and catching touchdowns in the end zone. They're just a tough team. And, I really like what I've seen out of them over the last month or so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I had them on a 5-game skid 2 weeks ago, but obviously that didn't happen. They beat the Chiefs, they beat the Rams, and then now I think this week they play like some podunk team like the Houston Texans or something ridiculous, right? So like obviously they're trending up very, very high, and back at the number 1 spot as a team that should always be there are the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm kidding. It's the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals are back at number 1. You had them up there week 7, and they lost, or week 8. I think it was. They lost to the Packers. They dropped to number 2, and now you have them back up there again. why do you have them at number 1 and not the Titans?
Oh, that's a good question. I was just really impressed by this victory, Buck, over the San Francisco 49ers. They're without Kyler Murray, certainly an MVP candidate in his own right. Colt McCoy hadn't started a game in at least a couple of years, I believe. He looked really sharp. I really like what I saw to him. James Conner lost his mind. I think he scored 3 touchdowns in this game, a nice 45-yard receiving touchdown over the middle as well. Yeah, he looked great. The Terminator as he is. And the defense looked really good as well, frustrating Jimmy Garoppolo, forcing out a couple of early fumbles and really taking control of this game. 49ers were really never in it. They scored a late touchdown. I think it was Brandon Ayuk went up and got it. But I just think this team's really well-rounded. It's taken Cliff Kingsbury, this is into his 3rd year, to really kind of build his program, but they're confident. Marcus Golden is an underrated guy on that defensive front. I know they were without JJ Watt, and they really didn't miss a beat. So I think it was one of the most impressive victories of the season, and they're the only team with just a single loss. So I had to put them back at the number 1 spot, and we'll see how they respond. They didn't respond in the best of lights last time I had them at right. number 1, so we'll see.
Yeah, the old at Bus Wallace curse is live and well, because every time you put a team at number 1, they drop back down, right? So just to recap here, the top 10, you do have the Las Vegas Raiders coming at number 10. Number 9, you do have the Buffalo Bills. Number 8, the LA Chargers. And then number 7, you have the Super Bowl winning Dallas Cowboys. Number 6, you have the LA Rams. 5, you have the Baltimore Ravens. 4, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 3, the Green Bay Packers. Number 2, the Tennessee Titans. And number 1, the Arizona Cardinals. So with all that being said, boss, we see teams that, always move up and always move down. So playoffs are just, we're going into week 10. This is an 18-week NFL season now, 17 games. So eight more weeks. Is there a team from 20 to 10 that you could possibly see, making a deep playoff run in your eyes?
Deep playoff run, I'm not sure, but I'm going to give you a couple, one from each conference, that I think could at least get into the tournament. I really like what I've seen of out of the New England Patriots for the last 3 weeks. They're winners of 3 in a row. Mac Jones might prove to be the best quarterback out of this class, and he was the 5th one selected. He's looking really sharp. Damian Harris in the run game is really pounding it, and the defense has really tightened the screws as of late. I definitely think this is a team that could get to about 10 wins or so, put some pressure on the Bills for the top spot in that AFC East, and possibly do some damage when they get there. Obviously, Bill Belichick knows how to scheme with the best of them. Josh McDaniels has been around for a while as well. So I think a lot of people thought this was going to be kind of another rebuilding, maybe a 7-win season or whatever, but I don't think they're interested in doing that. And if they keep playing the way they are, they're going to find themselves in the playoffs. Now in the NFC, this isn't a team that I think is going to necessarily make a lot of noise when they get there, but I've been impressed with the Atlanta Falcons, what they've been able to do over the last 4 games. They've won 3 of them. They're back to 500. They're at 4-4. Their defense is really nothing to write home about, but Arthur Smith has the offense playing really well. Cordero Patterson is a very versatile weapon. He seems to be playing at a really high level for them. Matt Ryan can still do it. And how about this guy, Zacchaeus? He scored I think 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I didn't even heard of him until last week. I'm like, who is this guy? Yeah.
Did anyone have that guy in
I don't
fantasy?
know. Yeah, crazy.
So I think if you think about it in the NFC, you got 7 teams getting into the playoffs. You got the Cardinals, Packers, Cowboys, Rams. I'm probably missing, and Bucks. There's probably that last team is going to be a team with maybe 8 wins or so. That could be the Falcons. So when they get there, they might get steamrolled, but I like what I've seen out of them, and I really didn't expect much from them this season.
Yeah, I definitely like that, going out on the limb and not picking the team that everybody's going to pick, like the Saints or whoever, right? The Falcons, that's actually a really good, intriguing pick, because many people had the Falcons as one of the worst teams in the NFL going forward here. So obviously the big news, the big player on the trading block that could really shake up some NFL teams, Odell Beckham Jr. I talked about him earlier in the show here. He wants to go to a playoff contending team. Tell me, Bus, where does Odell Beckham Jr. land?
It's weird because I'm hearing playoff contending team, but then I'm also hearing things that, he wants to go. He's preferring Seattle, which, they're sitting at 3-5, closer to the bottom of my power rankings. I believe they're at 23 right now.
23.
I think there could be a fit there, but he definitely needs to buy into the culture. Can they figure things out with 9 games to go with Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, some of the other receivers they have there? I'm not sure. I've also heard the Saints. I don't think he'd want to play with a guy like Simeon. No disrespect, but I think he thinks he's a filet mignon and he doesn't want a Salisbury steak type of quarterback, if you will.
That's what I said,
like Simeon as a backup, but I don't think he'd want to play with him. I don't know about the Titans. I don't know if they want to bring in another guy like that. So I'm thinking maybe the Seahawks. I'm trying to think of the other teams that I heard him linked
Kansas
to.
City, Patriots, and the Baltimore as the teams that I've heard as well.
Yeah, I think Kansas City, it could work as far as having that other guy opposite Tyreek Hill. Patriots, he would need to buy in. They took a swing at a guy like Chad Johnson, or was he Ocho Cinco at the time? I
can't remember.
Yeah, I think he was Ocho Cinco. It didn't end up working out, but he did buy in as far as the culture is concerned. I think they could figure out ways to get him the ball in creative, different ways, certainly more opportunities, and possibly Green Bay, but I don't think he has any interest in going there, even though they are one of the top teams in the NFC right now. So I didn't really give you a straight answer. Those are just some of the things I'm hearing, but I kind of like Seattle, honestly.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question directly. If Odell Beckham Jr. goes to Seattle right now, you have them number 23 in your power rankings. They are 3-5 on the season. Russell Wilson is coming back from that finger operation, and they play the Green Bay Packers this Sunday. With Odell Beckham Jr. on that team, do the Seahawks make the playoffs?
They could possibly slide into that kind of 7 spot when I was talking about the Falcons. But Odell Beckham Jr. has been anything but a difference maker for the past 4 years or so. So to say he's going to go in and catch all these touchdowns and make a big impact, I think is really a pipe dream. I don't really think that's going to happen. Could he develop a chemistry with a really great quarterback like Russell Wilson? Sure, it could happen, but I'm more inclined to say no, especially if Wilson comes back to this game. We saw it with Prescott on Sunday, no practice. He could have a bit of a stinker of a game, and then they'd be 3-6, and there'd be really almost no room for error. So I'd be inclined to say no dice on that one.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you because Odell Beckham Jr. is a cancer on the team, and that's exactly what the Seattle Seahawks don't need. They already have DK Metcalf, the man-child himself, and Tyler Lockett. They don't need a player like Odell Beckham Jr. He will take away catches from both of those players, and both those players excel, feed off one another perfectly. They don't need that. If the Seahawks want to get a top-ranked pick in the NFL draft for the 2022 draft, get Odell Beckham Jr. Draft your quarterback for next year. Do what you want, but Odell Beckham Jr. Seahawks makes no sense to me at all. No sense. But Graham, as always, man, thank you for joining us every Wednesday here with your NFL Power Rankings. You put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it, and I cannot thank you enough for that. So tell the people where they can find you on your blogs and your podcasts and everything just like that.
Yeah, so I've been doing some writing for Jay's Journal. I've actually just put together my Blue Jays all-time roster, so that's been a lot of fun. A bit of a look back. I did it in four different parts, so you can go on to jaysjournal.com to see that, who made my team, who missed the cut, things like that.
Does Pedro Martinez make it?
Who? Pedro Martinez? He was never a Blue Jay.
Wasn't he a Blue Jay?
No,
he was an Expo. Never mind.
He was an Expo. Canadian baseball.
Yeah.
We love Canadian baseball. Montreal no longer with us, but that's been a lot of fun. But we got some content talking about free agency and some different off-season things coming out for you next week. Bus Wallace on the Twitter machine. I'm probably also going to have some articles coming out on bellyupsports.com, kind of more of a in-depth throughout baseball type of post as far as free agency is concerned. So look for me there. Give me a shout out on Twitter, and I love talking sports all the time. So
last week I tried to set you up and you dropped the ball. So I'm going to set you up again. I got the 10 pins set up. It's the 10th frame. You've already blown 12 strikes in a row. Get this 13th one. You get a 300 score. Who wins the World Series in 2022?
Oh, right. Okay. Last time I didn't want to sound like a homer, but you like the Blue. I don't know if this is a trick question.
Yeah.
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays. Yeah.
Let's
Hell
say
yeah,
Blue
brother.
Jays.
Hell
Hank
yeah.
Aaron Award winner Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I say they bring back Robbie, bring back Marcus, find someone to replace Mats, run it back, and first World Series championship in almost 30 years. I love it.
Hey,
let's do it.
Fun fact here: if you were to put $100 on the Blue Jays right now, you'll win $1.1 million.
Are you? Wow.
I'm
not
saying.
a huge,
Just saying.
but wow. Maybe I'll have to think about that one.
I got 50. If you got 50.
Okay.
All right, man.
Wow.
As always, man, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week here for Week 11 NFL Power Rankings.
You got it, Buck.
All right, guys, we are up against the break here. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk the main topic of the show, and that's how bad the Tennessee Titans actually are. Number 2 ranked. Get out of here, Graham. That is absolutely dog crap. We'll talk about that, guys, coming up here on Man Hour. Stay tuned.
Nation brought to you by Brooks Roofing and Siding. Contact them at 812-868-7663 or online at brooksroofingin.com. Brooks Roofing and Siding, protection you need when nature strikes.
And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckcaster here with the Man Hour at manhour_buck on the Twitter machine. Be sure to give me a follow and all that stuff, and I'll follow you right back. I'll follow for a follower. F for F, as they like to say in the old Twitter world. So normally here on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. East Coast time at youtube.com/manhour, as we are live every Sunday through Thursday, live, raw, and uncut for 2 hours, 20 hours a week with glorious, glorious times. On Wednesday, we normally have Spilled Soup. But as you guys heard there in the Brooks Roofing advertisement, when nature strikes, you can rely on Brooks Roofing, right? Well, nature has struck in Soup Boss's home state, and he will be MIA tonight. So, guys, keep Soup Boss in your thoughts here as twisters are ripping through his area and through his town, and they are out of power here. Going on for 2 hours or so, 3 hours or so here. So, guys, keep Soup Boss in your thoughts, and we will definitely get Spilled Soup, maybe tomorrow. Maybe we can work something out tomorrow and get Wayne G and Spilled Soup on all at the same time. So if you guys are new here, which if you haven't subscribed, you already should, and hit that like button. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, wherever you hear your podcast form. If you didn't miss any part of the show whatsoever. But here at youtube.com/manhour, we do giveaways. Drew won a beanie last night on the giveaway, so he won a Beastie beanie, so big shout out to him. But guys, if you're listening to us on the radio, Big X Sports Radio 96.1, it's Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day to all those people that have lost their lives and remembrancers, and also it's the Marines' birthday, the 10th of November. So happy birthday to the Marines as well. But guys, Veterans Day, or Remembrance Day, as Graham told me on the break, that's what they call it in Canada. That's where Graham's from, is from Canada. So they call it Remembrance Day up there. We call it Veterans Day. In the end, guys, remember those fallen soldiers and whatnot, and definitely keep those veterans in your thoughts and prayers as well, because it is for Veterans Day. So Combs, Tori, my dad as well, all those veterans out there, big shout out Veterans Day to you guys as well. So with no spilled soup, guys, we have to dive into the very next topic of the night. And am I going to get ridiculed for this? Absolutely. Do I care? Absolutely not, because haters make you famous, right? But the title topic of tonight's show are basically the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans are now going into week 2 without King Henry. They signed Adrian Peterson, just a few hours after King Henry went down with his foot injury and had his operation and stuff like that. They did go toe-to-toe with the LA Rams the very next day. They actually beat the Rams. What was it, 19-16 or 20-16 or something to that effect. It was a very low scoring, but the Titans basically dominated the Rams in that game on Sunday Night Football, and they said, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. But, and without further ado, Graham Wallace has the Tennessee Titans ranked at number 2 in his power rankings. So with that being said, I have to propose the question, propose the idea, propose the thought process of, can the Tennessee Titans really be the Tennessee Titans without King Henry? Answer that question is absolutely not. Guys, yes, I have been hard on King Henry. I said that he was going to start to, decline after this season, because a running back shelf life is about 5-6 years in the NFL. They eat you up and spit you out, and that's what the Tennessee Titans are doing to King Henry right now. They're eating him up and spitting him out, and that injury has shown here. So King Henry had 937 yards on the season, averaging 4.3 yards a carry. They signed AP off of the street onto the team, for Sunday night game. AP did ran the ball 10 times, half the time of King Henry does. And guess what? He got half the yardage as well, or half the yards per average. He is averaging 2.1 yards a carry for just 21 yards on the season. Absolutely great, right? Oh, and then you have Jeremy McNichols, right? Yes, they are saying, yes, he is averaging 4.4 yards a carry. Fun fact, that's more than King Henry's 4.3, but he only has 14 attempts on the season. So basically, they are trying to do this two-headed monster game. They are trying to be the 1-2 punch like most of the NFL is. The Browns, the Cowboys, who else is doing the 1-2 punch? The 49ers, right? Or the Cardinals. They're trying to do that 1-2 punch, and I don't think that is going to be sustainable for the Tennessee Titans, because what has made the Tennessee Titans so great is the fact that King Henry never wore down. And having the 1-2 punch at running back, the running backs will wear down slower, but in the end, Adrian Peterson's like 37 years old. Guys, I'm 33 years old, and I just played college ball and some Canadian ball, and I wake up now in the morning, so I haven't played football in 10 years, 9-10 years, right? And I still wake up in the morning like, man, my back hurts, or my shoulder still hurts, or I can't bend my fingers right, So I couldn't imagine being a professional athlete being 30 or 36 still trying to do that. Adrian Peterson, I guarantee you, probably couldn't tie his shoes until Thursday. That's just the way it is. I mean, sorry. So to think that Adrian Peterson can continue this 10 to 15 touches a game, it's not going to be feasible. And he's only averaging 2.1 yards a carry. So he's kind of a minute point like at this point. So basically, the Tennessee Titans are going to have to rely heavily on Ryan Tannehill, much what like Graham said on his power rankings at Buswalls on Twitter. Guys, please give him a follow. Graham said that, Ryan Tannehill has to play at an MVP level, and I agree with that. Ryan Tannehill has shown leaps and bounds every year since he has left Miami and has become the full-time starter at Tennessee, taking over for Marcus Mariota. He has improved every year. He has kind of Derek Carr'd it, right? He is getting better, getting better, sneakily getting better, kind of underrated, getting better per se. And the problem with the Tennessee Titans is right now is that you can get better, but when you don't have that running game to rely on, does you getting better and everybody in the NFL know you're going to pass the ball because AP can't run? Is that really going to help you in the end? And I don't know. I when I say I don't know, I'm saying it very passively aggressively. I do know that the Tennessee Titans are going to drop some games moving forward because they cannot run the ball, because they cannot do what they do. I do know that Tennessee Titans will lose games that they should win. And I also do know that the Tennessee Titans they're going to win games that they should lose because of XYZ, because teams are expecting them to run the ball. They're a very run-happy team, dominant defense, and they pass only when they need it. So this week, when they do play the New Orleans Saints, at 1 o'clock on CBS, it is at Nashville. I expect this to be a ugly game. We thought the Bills-Jaguars game was ugly, that 9-6 score. No, this would be like a 6-3 score. Ryan Tannehill is going to digress in this game. Adrian Peterson is going to get his 10 touches for 1.1 yard average. Jeremy McNichols is going to get his 9 touches for his 4 yards, maybe, right? But 9 times 4, what's that guy, like 32 yards? Not a whole lot. The pressure is going to be on Ryan Tannehill. I think he's going to trouble this week for the versus the New Orleans Saints. And unfortunately, it is what it is. They are still a good-ish team. They are the best team in the worst division in football. So take that with a grain of salt. I do think the Colts will overtake them in the AFC South, though. But looking at their schedule moving forward, they can easily go opposite, right? Opposite wins. So I feel that they're going to lose to the Saints just because, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins in a row, five wins in a row. And, you're bound to drop a game, right? Then they'll beat Houston because Houston sucks. They'll lose to the Patriots. The Patriots always put up a great game plan, and it's at Foxborough. And then they got the Jaguars, Steelers, 49ers, and then Dolphins, Texans to end the season. All those games are kind of flip of the coin games like at that point. The Tennessee Titans will get into the playoffs with Ryan Tannehill at the helm. No question in my mind. They need 3 more wins to basically kind of solidify their way into the NFL. Or not into the NFL, into the playoffs. Those wins will come against the Texans and the Jaguars. Hell, you can throw in the Dolphins and Steelers in there too. I mean, there's 5 wins, and they're a 13-win team. Probably the worst 13-win team in the whole NFL. But we'll back off that like a little bit. The Tennessee Titans need King Henry to make any type of Super Bowl run. Will he be back for the playoffs? Only time will tell. I think he was supposed to be out for 8 to 10 weeks, I think it was. There's 8 weeks left in the NFL season. So, who knows? Who knows? But Titans are overrated, guys. They're not they are a first-round exit team. First-round exit team for the Tennessee Titans. So, moving on. Don't even start with aches and pains, Bucks, as Drew says. Drew says he's an old man. He is sore 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, twice on Sunday, as the old folks say. Drew had to walk uphill both ways to school. How does that happen? I don't know. But the people from the 50s and 60s, they did it all the time, right? I had to walk up school both ways uphill in the snow and the rain. And by golly, that teacher came with the switch and swatted me across the butt. AP style. I'm totally kidding. But what I'm not kidding about is the dirty play of Mac Jones. We were going to talk about this on Sunday, but Sunday we did not have a show. We're going to talk about it Monday. It got pushed back. Going to talk about it Tuesday. Me and Luke, all the Delvin Cook, and then the Beach reports came out, so we had to talk about that as well. But Mac Jones, guys, the New England Patriots and the Carolina Panthers played on Sunday. Obviously, the Patriots won that game handily. Sam Darnold's out for 6 to 8 weeks. He's actually on IR, so he should probably just be out for the rest of the season, let's just be honest. But when Mac Jones got strip sacked, he grabbed the ankle of Brian Burns and rolled up on Brian Burns' ankle, ultimately causing him to leave the game. He actually got carted off. So, the question that is out there right now, one, is Mac Jones a dirty player? Two, is he a marked man? Let me start with number first here. First things first, Mac Jones is a rookie quarterback. A rookie quarterback. When you are a rookie quarterback and you do something like this, hell yeah, you are a marked man. The next time the Panthers play you, they are going to Pittsburgh Steelers you like they did at Justin Fields. 3 steps and an elbow in the back of the head. They're going to lay on you a little bit longer. They're going to drive that shoulder a little bit deeper into that midsection. Let's just be honest. Hell, it would not surprise me. Who do the Patriots play this week? Let me pull it up. Where's the Patriots schedule? Pull that up. The Patriots play the Browns next. That is freaking, who is that? That is Clowney, those boys. That defense is a mean defense, right? It would not surprise me if the Cleveland Browns take one for the team, right, and just lay it on their old Mac Jonesy. Mac Jonesy, you are a marked man for the Cleveland Browns this week when you guys play them on Sunday at 1 o'clock on CBS. Now, question number one, does Mac Jones come off as a dirty player? No. I don't think he comes off as a dirty player per se. He comes off as a player that likes to push the limit, right? He comes off as that player that has that competitive nature in him. Now, if you are talking to my wife, he is a douchebag, he's a dirty player, and he should not ever play in the NFL ever again. Me, as a person that played the game, he was simply trying to keep the defender from scooping and scoring that ball. He was making a NFL play. It just happened to be at his ankle, which makes you a marked man, because once you knew you had his ankle, you should have probably just stopped and let it go. Let's just be flat honest about that. But a dirty player, no. Now, if it were to happen again, let's say he, in the Cleveland Brown game, he pulls the helmet off of Myles Garrett and smacks him across the head or like whatever. Dirty player then. 100% no question in my mind. If the whole Myles Garrett's and who's the Steelers quarterback when that happened last year? What's that guy's name? Shit. You guys know who I'm talking about. Now you're going to make me look it up. He's a backup quarterback for the Steelers now. Oh, come on, man. We know who it is. We're the Steelers. We're Steelers. Steelers. There they are. It's Mason, isn't it? Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph, yeah. I didn't have to look it up. I just had to talk it out. Mason Rudolph. So if Mac Jones gets Mason Rudolph in the Browns game, then he will be labeled as a dirty player. No question in my mind. But right now, he's not a dirty player. He's just a player that plays in the gray area. That's all. Drew says he is a rookie. Of course he's a marked person. Exactly what I said, Drew. Yeah, you are 100% right. He has that. Hell, Justin Fields and Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence all has that mark on their back. Hell, Patrick Mahomes probably still has that mark on his X on the back of his helmet. That's just the way it is, brother. You got to earn your keep, right? You got to earn your keep to be in this band. Stupid. So, wow. So let's talk some NFC West here. We talked a little bit about the Seattle Seahawks with old Graham Wallace, and about if Odell Beckham Jr. would go to them if there's playoff caliber team. Absolutely not. But Russell Wilson was back at practice today here Wednesday, 11:10, and the rumors around the practice was that he was, quote, looking good. He looked like old Russell Wilson himself. Was it pun intended on the word old? But are they going to get back on track and win the West? No. Absolutely not. They're not going to win the West. Right now, you have the Rams and the Cardinals in the front runners. Hell, you even have the 49ers that are probably better than the Seahawks right now. Sorry. Not much to say about that. That's just the way it is. But a question has come across the board here. Let me get the frog out of my throat. Let me clear my throat. Don't. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting a little crazy. You know, these allergies this time of year have been really kicked my ass, and about this time of night, man, my throat just starts killing me. Last night I was high on NyQuil, no pun intended. But question comes across here on the old youtube.com/man page. Are the Rams overrated? Are the LA Rams overrated? So when we propose this question, we are going to talk like majority of the NFL here, or the NFL, the professionals, right? The professional analysts, as people in the old in the comments like to say that they don't like watching our show because they're not professional analysts. Well, suck a dick, suck a fart out of my butthole. But with that being said, are the Rams overrated? They are overrated if you have them going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. Yes, absolutely 100% overrated if you think that. Are they overrated if you think they were going to get into the wild card? No. The Rams are a wild card team. I mean, we've said it before many times that the NFC West is the best division in football. Combs, Torrey, and myself all had everybody in that division with at least 10 wins. Now, the 49ers obviously have taken a couple steps back with, just being the 49ers, I guess, like at this point. And the Seahawks, we weren't expecting them to have the injury bug, but they're both at 3-5 right now. Rams are sitting at 7-2, and the Cardinals are obviously sitting at 8-1, number one in the power rankings and most NFL power rankings. So are they overrated? No, because I had them actually third in the division, going in as a number 7 seed with like 11 wins, I believe it was, behind the Seahawks, and then the Cardinals was winning the division, if I'm not mistaken on that. So in my eyes, the Rams are not overrated. They're exactly where I thought they would be. They're probably a little higher. You know, I had them, I think at 5-4 or 6-3, like at this point in the season. But they do have a very tough slate of games moving forward. They play Monday night. They play the 49ers at Levi Stadium. That's going to be a tough game. I don't care who you are. It's a division game. It's going to be a tough game. And then they go to Lambeau. Then they play the Jaguars. And then they play the Cardinals, Seahawks, Vikings, Ravens, 49ers. So they could easily be a 11-win team still. You know, they only need four more wins to be exactly where I thought they were going to be. So If you had the Rams in the Super Bowl last week before they lost to the Titans, yeah, they're overrated. 100% question in my mind, but I did not. I had them in the wild card. I actually had them winning a wild card game, but then losing after that. So are the Rams overrated? No, they're not overrated. Are they overhyped? Yes, they are overhyped. Slow the F down on the whole hype train. Matthew Stafford, MVP. You gotta slow the fuck down. Cooper Kupp, the greatest receiver since Jerry Rice. Slow the fuck down. That's all just, that's BS if you guys want to, like, really talk about that. Overhyped? Yes, they are overhyped. No question in my mind. Overrated? No, they're not overrated at all. So, moving on. Last night, guys, we did talk a little bit about the whole Dalvin Cook situation that he was talking through his agent, saying that he was assaulted and extorted for money a year ago when his ex-girlfriend or acquaintance broke into his house and assaulted them and was saying she was wanting millions of dollars for this, and this. So 24 hours has passed, and everything always gets twisted, right? Everything always gets added. So now this ex-girlfriend, which it finds out she is a sergeant in the Army, name is still nameless, right? Because we got to protect the innocent. She has now placed a lawsuit against Dalvin Cook, saying that she was the one being assaulted. Imagine that, right? Let's go ahead and turn the tables. Oh, a guy got assaulted. No. He assaulted me. I broke into his house to get my things, and he assaulted me. Okay. Timeout, pause. Now we are all about the he said, she said bullshit, right? Linkin Park, or not Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit. So when it becomes a he said, she said thing, the whole witness there, I'm assuming it was the side piece of the girlfriend, or Dalvin Cook's side piece was there, and she broke in, and this is how I'm playing it out in my head. Dalvin Cook and the sergeant in the Army, they had a relationship. They broke it off, or maybe they were just not on speaking terms. Maybe they're fighting, having a bad day, whatever. Dalvin Cook's like, you know what? F you. I'm Dalvin freaking Cook. Pops his collar, goes to the club, and brings a girl home, right? The girl finds out about it, because Dalvin Cook has his Snapchat map on, right? And then he's just like, hey, that's my man. No, this is my man. But no, I'm totally kidding. But I'm trying to make light of a very serious situation here, and basically, I feel like the sergeant in the Army, Dr. X, or Sergeant X, right? Sergeant X is basically trying to save her job, save her career by trying to turn the tables. And we spoke on it last night with Luke G and Tori, and usually when assault cases come out, the man is to blame, right? The man assaulted the girl because of this, and this. And then a he said, she said type of situation, I feel that 9 times out of 10, they're going to side with the girl because, he is an NFL player. He is this, he is that, this, right? So Dalvin Cook came out and said, hey, I'm sticking to my story. She assaulted me. She broke into my house. She said this, and this. So at the end of the day, it is kind of like, man, who do you believe? Drew says, why would you jump on a plane and fly out of state just to break up with your boyfriend? Do it in person, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't. That's a waste of freaking money. But it just, things are not adding up. If Dalvin Cook really assaulted Sergeant X, you would think that it would already be out there. Let me say that again. If Dalvin Cook really would have assaulted the woman, she would have done pressed criminal charges. She would have done this, and this, and she would have already got hush money. let's just be flat out honest. The only reason why she is counterattacking Delvin Cook right now is because he come out and said that she assaulted me. Now, I proposed the question, why is he coming out a year later? I don't know. Tori said it's because it's Wisconsin and it takes a year to get through the penal system. Whatever. I don't buy that. I don't really care one way or the other. If it is true, maybe Delvin Cook had an inside source or something to that effect where he knew she was going to file charges, so he was going to jump ahead of the situation to make her look bad. Maybe that's it. Playing devil's advocate, trying to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But in the end, Delvin Cook has held a 5-minute press conference, I believe it was, maintained his innocence, saying that, no, she attacked me. I did nothing. I have a witness to prove it. I'm just speaking out because men are assaulted, basically what he come out and said. And to be honest, I believe him to an extent. Do I believe that he was assaulted? Yes, I believe that he was assaulted. I believe the girl was upset that they broke up, and there's already a girl there, and she attacked him. I do believe that. Do I believe that Delvin Cook just let a woman attack him like that? No, I don't believe that at at all. As a person in general, when somebody comes at you with like fists, your first instinct is to swat him away or push him or something, right? Your first instinct is to defend yourself. And whether it's defending, beyond defending, I keep referring back to the Kareem Hunt case. He definitely defended himself, but then went beyond that point. Did he go beyond that point? We don't know. Are there surveillance tapes? We don't know. Is the witness there going to speak out? We don't know. So many questions. But I guess we need the news because Vikings are just not very good at football. So Delvin Cook, I'm trying to be Tory here. I'm totally playing. But in the end, Delvin Cook is maintaining his innocence. The woman has filed a lawsuit against him. I don't know what the lawsuit entails, what it means. Obviously it's not a civil suit, so a lawsuit's probably like a defamation of character or anything to that effect. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, this is the Man Hour, guys. We are live. We are raw, uncut sports talk. Every Sunday through Thursday at youtube.com/Man Hour. You can watch us live there. 8 p.m. East Coast time. But as always, guys, thank you for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Combs will be back tomorrow. I'll be back here. We'll have Wayne G on tomorrow for his That's Debatable topic. We'll try to get Soup Boss on for some spilled soup. And as always, Cardinals suck. # drain the Red Sea. Man Hour Nation, rise up.